welcome back to the Travi Wavi. I'm your affable host, Travis Eason, coming to you live again from the 325, the heart of storybook capital of America, beautiful, historic downtown Abilene, Texas. And today I have a really special guest. I've been looking forward to having her on from day one, Lynn Barnett. Thank you so much for joining me today.
I'm so excited to be here to talk about everything
good.
storybook.
Good. Well, and that's a fun thing because we've been talking about coming to you live from the storybook capital of America, and Donna Albus reminded me that it's also Texas, so I should throw in a little Texas once in a while, but we have you to thank for that.
No, not me. There are so many wonderful volunteers and my staff. You know, I'm just one of the cogs in the wheel, but I am happy that I've been able to be a part of it because it is so much fun.
Well, we're going to keep digging into it, but let me ask you the question I start off with all my guests. Tell me, do you have any siblings?
I do. I have an older brother. He's 18 months older than I am, but I'm the smart one.
You're the smart one?
No, I'm kidding. He's the smart one. He's a smart one.
Do you guys stay in touch?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I just saw him about 2 weeks ago in Florida.
Oh, good.
So, yeah. No,
Good.
He's great. He's great. He's a financial wizard. So.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Nieces and nephews?
Yes. I have a couple of nieces and a nephew. They have one son.
Very good.
Yeah.
Good. Like that. And you moved to Abilene from Massachusetts?
Well, I actually moved to Abilene from Austin.
From Austin?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but I was born in Massachusetts, and I went to college in Massachusetts, and but my brother was actually my husband's roommate.
Okay.
In Hanover, New Hampshire.
Okay.
Which is how I met him.
Very good.
And Randy Barnett was from Abilene, Texas. And so first we got married, we lived in Austin, and then he had a job offer here from H.C. Zachary, and he took it, and so we came.
And you came, and at the time you were working for the Texas Commission for the Arts?
Correct.
And how did you get started doing that?
Well, I walked in after we'd moved to Austin, and I had actually thought I wanted to be an attorney at one time, so I had done some research for a law firm in Washington, D.C., and decided that was not very much fun. So then when we moved to Austin, I was a liberal arts major and, had always loved the arts and all that. So I walked in there, and as luck would have it, they were looking for someone to do some research. And as luck would further have it, they had a couple of people there that weren't really getting the job done. And so I just sort of ended up in the right place at the right time.
That's great.
Yeah.
And how long were you with Texas Commission on the Arts?
2 years.
2 years.
2 years, yeah.
And so you had that sort of in your tool pouch before you came to Abilene.
Correct. And actually, Mary Lou Robertson, who just passed last week, she was, I don't know if she was the chairman of the Texas Commission on the Arts at that time, but she was on the board of the Texas Commission. It's a governor-appointed body. And so she knew I was moving to Abilene, and they were looking for an Arts Council director, as luck would have it.
It's all the lights shining on it.
Exactly. So that was just another serendipitous happening.
And you've been in that position for 25 years?
Travis, at the end of this month, 45 years.
Oh my gosh.
I came in 1980.
And you've been in the same position
the
whole time?
Yes, I have been. And I still love it.
Awesome.
I love it.
Any plans on stepping away or
I
gears?
hadn't really thought about that yet. We've got this big garden expansion project that has sort of been all-consuming. And then after that, originally it was going to be 3 years, and now it looks like it's going to come together a lot sooner than that. So anyway, I don't know.
No exit plans currently.
Not at the moment.
That's good.
Not at the moment.
So you just mentioned this garden project over by the convention center, sort of in front of the new hotel. There's going to be a new tree sculpture, a metal tree sculpture.
Yes. The storybook Giving Tree, and it's kind of a very loose interpretation of Shel Silverstein's. But yes, an artist, local artist who has worked all over the world, actually, Nick Noblique.
Who's been on the show?
Yeah, and
Go watch that one.
he's doing that for us as we speak. He's hard at work because it looks as though that will be installed so that we can dedicate it calf weekend, June
That's
12th.
great. And the CAF Festival is a Children's Arts and Literacy Festival.
Correct.
And this will be the 13th year?
This will be the 13th year.
That's incredible.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's a big draw for Abilene. It brings in a lot of different people, and it's great for families.
Yes, yes. We keep trying to push it out, push it out. We've got last year there were families from 28 states and like 150 something cities, something like that.
That's great.
A lot.
That's
you know,
great.
A lot, yeah.
And that'll be what, June?
June 12th. It starts on Thursday night, the big kickoff party, which is going to be a little different this year, and then because we're not going to do a parade, and then it goes through Sunday. And people with their lanyards, their calf lanyards, the zoo. It's a wonderful partnership. They allow people who have their lanyards to get in free on Sunday.
Great, that's great.
So yeah.
So you've got the zoo. You've got all sorts of different workshops, readings, marionettes.
Right.
What am I missing?
Yeah. Well, we love the fact that the Geppetto's Marionettes comes from Dallas, and they perform at the Dallas Fair for a month in the fall, and they are so professional. And the head guy, John Hopkins, makes the marionettes. He carves the marionettes, and they are beautiful. So, and just the quality of the shows are first class. So, yes, we have the marionettes. Everybody loves Corn Pop, the balloon sculptor comedian, who, by the way, he has changed. His name that is his legal name, Corn Pop.
Corn Pop.
He is in it. So Corn Pop, and then we're bringing in the singing zoologist who at the Paramount Theater, and he does talks about animals and all everything zoological, but he's also a performer. So that's great. Then we've got two performances of two of the books that the illustrator Matt Phelan has illustrated.
And so that's the illustrator. What are some of the books that are being highlighted this year?
Well, he did Plum the Peacock.
Okay.
And that's a series for young readers. Well, chapter books, but not real long chapter books. And he's done 4 of those. He's done Turtle Walk. And so the sculptures this year that will be unveiled will be Plum the Peacock, and then the 4 turtles from Turtle Walk will be installed on the natural stone water wall, which will be a part of the garden.
Very good.
That night, yeah.
So for our listeners that are not in Abilene or unfamiliar, and I'm going to pick on you, but Lynn has spearheaded many beautiful sculpture parks and gardens within walking distance of where we are right now. We've got the Dr. Seuss garden right over here off of North First and Pine. And then I can't remember the name of the one that's by the convention center. If there's a name for that.
It's the Adamson Spalding Storybook Garden.
Adamson Spalding Storybook Garden.
Yes.
And that's full of, there's 3 Little Pigs over there. There's something from Charlotte's Web.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, Garth Williams was celebrated at the CAF in 2017.
Okay.
And he is the most celebrated illustrator of his generation. He did Charlotte's Web. He did Stuart Little. He did several of the little golden books, which was, as you said, the 3 Little Pigs, the 3 Bears, the 3 Kittens. And so when we were looking at celebrating his work, we couldn't decide which one. And then we thought, well, you got to do Charlotte's Web, and then you got to do Stuart Little, and then we looked at the golden book. So anyway, thankfully, again, this community is so generous that we were able to raise the money and do all of those.
And it takes, it's been a few years since we've spoken about this, but it takes a lot to be able to get the rights to produce one of these characters, and then it takes an enormous amount of time and effort and money to cast one of these pieces in bronze and bring it to life.
Yeah.
At what point did you decide this is what we needed to do as a community, and how did
Well,
that kind of start?
well, it started when actually we did the first Children's Art and Literacy Festival with celebrating Dr. Seuss in 2012. And when we decided to take the plunge and do the festival, a children's festival, which had been recommended by a consultant, but we, like every other organization in this town, had plenty of work to do already. And so I think everyone, I think, was a little hesitant to take it on. But then, so anyway, we did because Dr. Seuss, how could you not? The Nickel's going to have this exhibit. And then we realized or discovered they had a traveling exhibition, the Seuss Foundation, of the Cat in the Hat, the Lorax, the elephant, Horton, and the other three. So we raised the money, brought that in, and actually we started, I think, about 6 months before that festival. And we would have like Cat in the Hat at Hendrick, and then we'd have Horton at First Financial.
I think
and
I
we'd
remember
have
this.
And people were so excited and supportive and positive, but it was just a touring exhibition. But of course, for a price, you can acquire these. So after the festival, we had gotten such great feedback. We're like, okay, well, let's see if we can raise the money for the Cat in the Hat. And that was done so quickly. And then we're like, well, let's go ahead and see if we can raise money for Horton. And then we got Horton. Then we got the Grinch. Then we got, your little. So that was and we already had Childhood's Great Adventure, based on William Joyce's book, The Santa Claus, that's based in Abilene. And that was like in 1996. And here we are in 2012. So, but it was so, relatively easy to raise that $150,000 or what it was. And then people loved them so much that we're like, gosh, wouldn't it be cool if every year we could do a sculpture, at least one sculpture maybe, related to the illustrator being celebrated. And so that's kind of what happened that spurred us on. And then in 2017, when Garth Williams is the illustrator, we realized if we're going to do all of those, we really need a place to put them. And so then we worked with the city. That was wonderful about, saying yes and, show us the plans and what all. So, yeah, it just, I think the great thing, Travis, that we really didn't know. I mean, you kind of know because it makes sense. But the great thing about the storybook project is that it appeals to the grandparents and the parents who are trying to get their kids excited about reading, and the little kids love it, So it's such a wholesome, multi-generational appeal. And the other side of that is it is all about books and reading. And the sad statistic is if a child isn't a pretty good reader by third grade, the odds of them being successful in high school, and then going on to college are not very good. And so, I don't know, the impact exactly that this has, but we do have a lot of wonderful stories that we've gotten from our evaluations from CAF about parents talking about, the little, whatever second grader who hated to read, came to the arts festival, and then wanted to buy books with his money. And of course, they were just so grateful and so excited because of how important it is to be a good reader.
Do you think that it's a more difficult time now with access to the phones and the screens for children, or do you think that it's always kind of been a challenge to try to
I
get
think it's
minds
probably,
to read?
I mean, I don't know, because I haven't studied it, but I would think, I mean, I know how I look at my phone, for different stuff, and, that wasn't around. What, how many years ago
Not
now?
that many.
Not that many years
15,
ago. And now
20.
And all these little kids have these phones now.
Yep.
People are buying phones for their children who are, I don't know, in elementary school.
Yeah. What was take me back to when the nickel was on the drawing board, and how did that come to be?
Well, that really happened when William Joyce, who had written Santa Claus,
Mm-hmm.
and Gary McCaleb was the mayor at that time, and he was invited to Bowie to read a book at Christmas, and it was, he started in the book, and it's, Art Atchison Amesworth, boy whiz kid from Abilene, Texas, and he stopped and is that, is this one of those fill in the blanks? And they said no. So he went back and had his secretary get a hold of William Joyce, and who lived in Shreveport, never had been to Abilene. He said he just liked the way it sounded, and it was a Western theme in Abilene, and so William Joyce came, and it was the conversation. His conversation was, would he be willing to have like a gallery in Abilene? The way I remember it. And then William Joyce said, I'm not, and he wasn't the big name he is now, although he was doing very well at the time. And he said, well, what about a institution where you would show the best of children's literature? And if you guys want to do that, I will help you with that.
Very cool.
And so then the Junior League helped fund the study, and the Convention of Visitors Bureau, the Arts Council. So we discovered, because we didn't know, sitting in Abilene, are there other institutions around the country that already do this? And as it turned out, there were not. Subsequently, they have the Eric Carle Museum up in Amherst, Massachusetts, but at the time there wasn't. And ours is unique in that the exhibitions tour. Those don't tour, because that's another whole undertaking, thanks to David and Cindy Durham, who make that happen.
To bring different exhibits in.
Well, to once they're here, then they tour all around the country.
Okay.
They'll tour to.
So they'll originate here at the Nickel.
Correct.
And then they'll go out.
Correct.
I love that.
Yes.
I didn't realize that.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And they have them touring all over the country.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I remember a couple. I mean, Eric Carle was one that I remember. The Berenstein Bears. It's such a unique and fabulous place to go. It's open during the day, isn't it? Weekdays?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anybody can go. It's free. You get to see amazing, original illustrations for the most part, right?
Correct.
Original illustrations for all these different children's books, and again, you've got do you know who's there right now?
Pardon?
Who is at the Nickel right now currently?
I'm blanking.
That's okay.
At the moment. Yeah.
But there's always incredible art,
Yeah.
and then a great gift store with books and all of
Yes.
that.
And every Saturday they have a free art activity, which for families to come and experience, which is nice, wonderful, and very popular. They'll have hundreds of people in there.
So these are some of the reasons why we've been marked as the storybook capital of America, because we have the Nickel, the National Illustrated I'm not going to say that right.
National Center for Children's
National Center for Children's Illustrated Literature. We've got all these different storybook gardens with incredibly beautiful cast bronze pieces. And what else? What else do you think?
Well, the Children's Art and Literacy Festival.
The CAF Festival.
Yeah, the CAF Festival. And then we also have our storybook benches.
Okay.
Yeah, there's 80-something now, and we're about to have 40, almost 40 more in the new garden. And we also have an app, a free storybook app.
Okay.
That people can download, and then you go around and you collect, quote unquote, the sculptures when you get close to, pick one, and it becomes animated for just a minute. You collect it, and the same with the benches. When you go all around, it'll pop up, and you'll have 3 choices to fill in, like a person's a person no matter how, and you can put small or large or happy, and you pick the right one, and then the book spins up and you collect it for your bookshelf.
That's cool.
Yeah. So again, we wanted to, and most all of those quotes on the benches are related to a value. So you're also collecting, on the app it'll tell you how many are connected to honesty, how many are connected to perseverance. So again, if families want to take the opportunity to, have that conversation and become familiar with the books, that's what we wanted to have happen. So yeah. So yes, all of those reasons we had to like present to the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, and then they look at your, what you've pitched, your case, and they decide if you may be officially, designated whatever it is you're hoping to be designated.
And we are now.
We
We're
are
official.
We are very official. We
when,
are.
When did that take place?
I think that was in 2018.
Okay, so for a few years now we've been that.
Yeah.
Did we start off as the official storybook capital of Texas, and then
Yes,
take
and then
over
we
the rest
worked
of the
our
country?
way up.
Yeah.
We worked our way
Good.
up. Yes, the legislature was kind enough to give us that designation. Yeah. So.
Well, there's so much work and effort and attention to detail has happened in our beautiful historic downtown with these different gardens and exhibits, and it does feel special. It feels really unique and special to be a part of that, even if as just a casual viewer or citizen.
Well, again, the nice thing is, it is kind of a unique identity, and it is wholesome. And I think a lot of people tell us how proud they are of it. They love it when people come to town and they can take them around and show them, the various things. And so again, it was, in a way, it was serendipitous, but in a way, each step has been rather intentional and, came to us, or we pursued it for, whatever point or whatever reason at that moment in time.
So you've been involved with helping to shape and form so many of these aspects since you said 1980.
1980, yes.
And,
I know.
And back
it seems
then,
impossible.
we didn't. The downtown revitalization wasn't happening. I mean, this
No.
is before that. So
Yes.
you saw the Grace Museum when it was boarded up,
Yes.
and TMP,
Yes.
and
the Paramount.
and the Paramount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Judy Matthews and the Dodge Jones Foundation, she was, she had traveled obviously quite a bit, and she had such a love for this town and for Abilene, and so really those key components were very instrumental in, if they hadn't, and other people contributed as well, but she did a huge donation, to make things possible for all of those things, and then the Center for Contemporary Arts, they had the opportunity and came to us and said, do you think, the Artist League of Texas was upstairs on North 2nd, where Clear Fork Bank executive offices are now, and wondered if they would like to move down on the street, on Cypress Street, which of course, yes, please. But they were huge in that. And then David and Cindy Durham have been, the nickel I don't think really would be there without David and Cindy. And then of course the Diane Grace Owen Foundation has been huge in so many of these things. So not every town has the foundations with that sort of capacity that can absolutely transform, the landscape of an area.
So as we've started doing a free live music event over at the old Cotton Warehouse. We're going to have another one May 9th will be the next show. And just in trying to form organization and teamwork amongst other people, and recognizing that there's so many nonprofit organizations in this community that always want to help, that always want to get behind good ideas, and it is kind of encouraging. It's also a little scary sometimes too, because it's almost there's this whole other world of people that are willing to give and help, versus trying to go out there and make a quick buck for yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I really do think the culture of volunteering here in Abilene, from my understanding from, some of my colleagues around other places, it's very unique. And the generosity of the people here is very unique.
Mm.
You know, there is a culture of supporting at whatever level
Mm.
people are able to support, you know, whatever it is their passion is,
Mm.
you know. Well, that's exciting. I didn't know we had that.
Yeah, well, we could talk more about that.
Okay.
We've started to kind of rebuild a new coalition to help us see what we can do with that. We did shows July through December, and those were, I think, pretty well attended, and everybody had a good time. And
Nice.
took the winter off and kick it back off again next month.
Great.
So, what are
Fantastic.
some of the things that you're the most proud of in your accomplishments?
Well, I'm really excited about, you know, I'm so happy that the nickel, we were able to do the
Mm-hmm.
nickel and the Center for Contemporary Arts, because I feel like it really is important to have to support your local artists,
Mm.
because they're kind of the heartbeat of the community, and they're always so, you know, on the edge of
Mm-hmm.
anything that's going to happen next, and see things that, you know, before a lot of people see them. So that, but yeah, this whole storybook thing has been wonderful, and you know, the support that we've gotten for the garden expansion,
Mm.
which I mentioned, which is going to be the first phase will definitely be completed by June the 12th,
Okay.
and then next year, as I meant, we're celebrating E.H. Shepard and Winnie the Pooh.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have gotten all of the Winnie the Pooh characters, the fundraising done for those. And Steve Neves, who is the incredibly talented artist, sculpture professor at Hardin Simmons,
Mm-hmm.
he has almost completed Eeyore. He
Okay.
started with Eeyore, and he is close to being done. And then he's got 7 others
Mm.
that he's got to crank out between now and next June.
Wow.
Yeah, June 11th. So he's
Busy.
going to be a very busy guy,
Mm-hmm.
and he has other projects. My understanding is not he. We're not the only job he's got,
Mm.
you know, in the wings.
Well, good
This
for him.
next, you know, 12 months or so.
Good to stay busy.
Yes.
And Jeff Broderick's not doing the casting anymore. Are you guys using like a, a foundry in Austin?
We're using a foundry, Schaefer Art Foundry in
Okay.
Arlington,
Okay.
and they've done many of these now,
Okay.
and they're wonderful to work with. Jeff was wonderful to work with, and I think we may may have worn him out a little bit, but yeah, that was fun when he was casting out
Mm-hmm.
there. You know,
Mm-hmm.
really fun. He did the pigs, the 3 little pigs, so and others. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Stuart Little. So
So the expansion of the storybook garden of there's just so many storybook gardens. I almost wish I could call them like number 1, number 2, number 3, but I'll get it right one of these days,
yeah.
Lynn. Um, so that's a big project coming up, and you've got Winnie the Pooh coming up. What are some other irons in your fire right now?
Well, you know, we're always looking to do other things for
Hmm.
families. And so, our Children Forming Arts series, they've just announced their series for next year,
Okay.
which is going to be great. Curious George, they're bringing Curious George, they're bringing in this wonderful Jeff Boyer bubble guy. And then it's kicking off with something that'll come to me in a minute. But you know, we're super excited about that opportunity for
Mm.
families
Mm-hmm.
because it's very reasonable. You know, the ticket for all 3 shows, um, I can't remember what this price is, but it's maybe, you know, you're paying maybe maybe
Mm.
$10 for these
So
tickets.
it's
And
reasonable.
it's so reasonable,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just wonderful to see all those families. They just had Frog and Toad
Mm-hmm.
this past Sunday.
I did some of the painting for those guys.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, because
It was
Gary designed it and just called
yes,
me in last minute, said help, and I said here
yeah,
I am.
yeah. It was
Good,
amazing. The
good.
sets were amazing, and the show, Wishing Star Productions, Doug
Yeah, they're
Lopachin,
doing a good job.
it was the talent was
Mm-hmm.
wonderful. I mean, it was not just a children, you know, performance.
Mm-hmm.
There were adults that came and and enjoyed it. You
Good.
know, if it's well done, if the singing and the
Mm-hmm.
dancing and the sets, and it was first class. I
Good.
cannot say enough about what a great job they did.
Good.
Yeah.
And the Arts Council supports. I mean, theater in various capacities, and you guys have been a big funder of Abilene Community Theater.
Yeah.
What other sorts of theaters efforts are being supported by y'all?
Well, we have a grant program,
Okay.
and so the nonprofit art organizations, the Grace, the Nickel, the Center for Contemporary Arts, and then smaller groups like the barbershop guys who now have changed Memory Men and may have changed their name, something else. But at any rate, we fund 20 something art organizations, not it's not nearly, in the case of the Grace or the Center, whatever, but it helps, I think, it just helps them further their mission and their projects. And so, yes, we have 2 different grant programs that are actually, the deadlines are coming up in June the 3rd. So yes, we do that. We also put artists in the schools. And
Young
yeah,
artists.
young audiences.
Yeah, young audiences. Yeah.
And we'll serve 10,000 kids every year. And as a part of that project, there are after school classes. And so at a particular campus, maybe we'll have a hip hop artist come in there for 8 weeks, or a theater, director. And so those kids, it happens on campus. It's after school, and so it's a wonderful opportunity for them because their parents are working, likely for the most part, and they wouldn't have the opportunity otherwise. And it's free. It's completely free to them. They have to be pretty can't be real rebellious or cause problems, but it's just been wonderful to watch that, and to see the product of their work is very rewarding too. So not every child is a great athlete, and so kids who might not otherwise have the opportunity to see, to go that route, or to be in a small theater production, or
Exposure.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's important then when they're in middle school, there's a whole other crazy time in kids' lives. So it just helps them maybe find something that they can feel good about themselves.
Yeah, I think, yes, I love that. And you guys also do bring the Broadway shows into the convention center?
We do not any
you don't?
longer.
Okay.
When the new owners came in for the convention center, they have, I guess I don't know if they work with the same touring companies or whatever, but we did that for many years.
Okay.
We did it at the Paramount, and then when the shows got really too big for the stage, there's no wing space, as you well know. Then we moved to the convention center, and then about I don't know how many years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, that ownership changed, and that was great with us. As long as there's Broadway happening and those shows happening, and again, we have plenty to keep us busy.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
What are some more visions that you have for the Storybook Capital of America?
Well, once we get this new garden done, then I really want to look at what kind of programming do we put in there? How do we really maximize those spaces? And we have so much talent here, and I don't. Dawn Swearingen Meek said, she and I talk about, and they help us in a variety of ways at our luncheons and with putting kids in costumes and different things. But after we get this done, then I'd really like to think, what makes sense? What makes sense? How do you activate those spaces? And in a way that people, you got to work around other stuff that kids are involved in, but do you do something in the evenings on a Friday night, a family night, or maybe not Friday night because of football, maybe Saturday.
It's always Fridays.
Yeah, but I'd really like to look at how that could happen, so that when you come to Abilene on the weekend from Dallas or Fort Worth, you know that there'll be, you could go to the nickel on Saturday morning and for free. And then you can go to our beautiful zoo. You talk about a
It's a
gem.
great zoo.
It is a beautiful zoo, and they are doing such a great job out there. But just to make it such a robust family experience, And of course, now we've got great restaurants downtown. and-
The night there's a nightlife.
yeah, there is a nightlife. So it's such a reasonable, and the DoubleTree, what a game changer, game changer. And it's, a lovely, lovely experience to stay there. So
It's amazing how much change and activation has happened downtown, even over the last 5 or 10 years.
exactly.
It's a big change,
Right.
and there's more great things coming too. I think that there's a lot of people and projects that are starting to happen, and I look forward to seeing the next 5 and 10 years.
Yeah. That what's going to be beautiful is they're doing a park, the city, that park where the old Abilene Reporter News building was.
Right across the street from us right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that'll be lovely when that's completed, and a wonderful green space for people to go. So
That'll be good. Do you have any idea what the timeline is on that?
I think it's going to be done by next summer.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So we can
They're
start
moving.
watching that.
They're
That's
moving
good.
on it. Kate Burke-Alvarez, the downtown manager for the city, she was updating us, and the street should be done by maybe by Christmas.
Okay,
Maybe, I think she said, but definitely by CAF next year.
good.
We want it to be pristine so that we can really get people moving around easily and enjoying the views.
That's good. So programming in the parks would be something that you would want to focus on. Can you share with us, at some point along the way, things I'm sure had to be difficult. There had to be some, I don't want to say failures, but challenges. And what was that like, and how did you overcome those? Or has the light always just shone on it and it's all worked out perfectly?
Honestly, I mean, there are challenges this year, this garden, just because of, liability and all that stuff. When we did the first garden in 2017, we had volunteers out there painting the green, the rebar stanchions, and we would just contract with, whoever we would contract with, or to get the concrete donated for the pillars, for the whatever. And now it's just a different different procedure, and everyone has to have the bonding and the whatever, and we can't just have volunteers out there doing stuff because of insurance. And so, but we've got such wonderful people again working on this, Clint Rosenbaum and Dan Hott, that they have figured out how we can get that handled, with the city. And that was a little bit of a challenge for a while, but it wasn't insurmountable. It just, when we think back, when Pam Tippin, who is another one of the amazing volunteers, when we think back of how we just kind of, we're shooting from the hip and just getting it done, just trying to, okay, now what do we have to do? Now what do we have to do? And this has just been a little more formal process, But again.
But timely.
Yeah, pardon?
But timely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And it's not like it was an impediment that we couldn't find our way around. It was just a little more, just took a little more time. So anyway, and it's just the way it is, and we get it. People are, you just got to be careful.
Yeah.
The city has been amazing. They have been amazingly supportive.
Good.
And the council and Robert Hanna, it's just been, if they weren't, really 100% behind us, well, we couldn't have done it.
Mm.
You can't just go and do what you want on
Yeah.
the lawn of the convention center. You've
Mm-hmm.
got to have them
Got to have their
and
support.
approvals
Yep.
and,
Yep.
and all that. So,
It takes a village for
yeah,
sure.
yes,
And it is exciting that we live in a community where, like you've mentioned multiple times so far, we have volunteers, we have people that want to give, we have a lot of energy like that really has helped us to produce this amazing
yes,
quality of life and surround
yeah,
ourselves with fine art
yeah,
and literacy, children's literacy.
yeah.
It's pretty special.
Yeah, I mean, I hear that again from my colleagues who are in other cities around the state. They're like, golly. And for a while, for 17 years, Abilene had somebody on the board of the Texas Commission on the Arts running. And that, there were only, I don't know, used to be 17, now I think there's 9. But I mean, that's pretty, they're like, how do you get all these
Mm.
great people? And I'm like, I don't get them. I mean, they're here, they live
Mm.
here, and they want to be a part of things, and they're willing to devote their time to this kind
Mm-hmm.
of thing, and it makes a difference.
Sometimes I get a sense about Abilene that, everyone always says that Austin's sort of the creative hub of Texas, right? That's where all the artists want to go, and because it's Austin, and been accused of being from Austin myself, and nothing further from the truth. But I find that Abilene, there's so many artists here. There's such a varied, there's so many varied cultures and prerogatives that it feels like we are or are becoming the next arts mecca for Texas. And maybe that's a little too much. Maybe I am biting off more than I can chew. But um, there's a real, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know if it's the West Texas down to earth, dirt in our mouth when the wind blows in aspect of it's a kind of a tough life out here in the West. But there's something really, I feel it's like we're kind of the beginning of a renaissance that's starting to take place again.
I think that's true. I think it's also, and you could speak to this more, it's easier in Abilene.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier to, get involved. It's easier to get around.
Mm-hmm.
It's not nearly as expensive as
Mm-hmm.
trying to live in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
that is just ridiculous at this point in time.
Yep.
So I think people, and I think there's enough of an artist community, which of course artists love, they want to be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, our Studio 13, not Studio 13, well, and then the Stephanie Prosser's
Mm-hmm.
11,
Mm-hmm.
on Walnut, and then the Center for Contemporary Arts, and then there's artist studios up in the Cockle Building. I mean, there's a lot of places that artists can be a part or be connected
Mm-hmm.
and have their space, and it's not going to cost them an arm and a leg.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And you can be in community, like you said, with other artists, and there there may not be huge opportunities here, but there's always opportunities here to
Right.
share, to be seen, to be heard,
Yeah.
to participate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it seems like artists are supportive of one another
Mm-hmm.
for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not an artist, but from what I understand and
Yeah.
from the people I know, it just seems like it's a very people want other people to succeed
Yep.
and be successful.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
yeah.
What are some challenges that you think we face as a community?
Well, we're not a wealthy community, which is interesting when you look at the school district.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that's going to be a continual challenge, which, does kind of impact, what we do in the arts. I think it's surprising that I think it's 70% or 70-something% of the students are eligible for free and reduced lunch
Mm-hmm.
in Abilene ISD.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they're struggling. I know
Mm-hmm.
our school district, which I hate that, as someone who had 3 kids go through and it was a great experience for
Mm-hmm.
them and for us, you know. So I do think that is going to be a challenge, and I don't know how you, I don't know how you deal with that.
Yeah, that's a good question that I don't have an answer for either. How do we generate more value for
Yeah,
our community
right.
and share that amongst the citizens that live here so that they can
Yeah,
maybe have a little bit more disposable income to come out and
yeah,
shop or eat or
right,
whatever.
right. Come down, and so I know the tax, the building down, apparently our revenue, our city,
Mm.
is not experiencing a, wonderful revenue, whatever, at this point. But I think our leadership, again, they're very good at making decisions that
Mm.
are good for our
Mm-hmm.
community, that make it work.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do it. We're blessed to have the people we have in those leadership positions to work so hard,
Mm-hmm.
for
And
a
they're
dollar.
constantly under scrutiny
Oh my
all the time.
gosh. Oh my
Yep.
gosh.
Hats off to them,
Yeah.
all of them.
Yeah, you are never going to be without people, you know,
Mm-hmm.
telling you what you're doing wrong. So, but I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the city council and the mayor that they're willing to, you know,
Mm-hmm.
work as hard as they work for a dollar a year,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Man.
But again, I think that speaks a lot to, our community,
Mm.
and that there are wonderful people
Mm-hmm.
who, because it's time consuming.
Yes.
Oh my gosh,
Yep.
And how many chicken dinners can you go to? Yeah.
I love
Oh,
that.
oh boy.
Any questions for me?
Well, as an artist,
Mm.
Travis, who's been here now since 2000,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what do you want to see happen in the future? Or what would you hope?
Mm.
What would you think would make Abilene continue or better as an arts community? Or,
So, well, I have a couple thoughts about that, but I think um, just going back to my theater roots and theater background, and something Gary Varner and I discussed recently again was that the Shakespeare Festival that ACU still holds from time to time was sort of the the idea behind that was to create professional theater in the summertime that would maybe keep people in the community and a little bit of money in their pocket and so I would, anyways, along those same lines, I would like to see us have maybe more professional theater opportunities. I'm not sure how we work that into the schedule or what that looks like, if it's a dinner theater situation or if it's theater in the parks, or but just have more professional opportunities. Just as someone that was in the industry working as a professional, but once I left ACU, there weren't any more opportunities. The only
yeah,
other, you got the Paramount, maybe Wiley Theater, high school theater. So just to have more opportunities in that realm. um, Maybe there's a professional scenic shop or property shop or just other, and then thinking about Texas overall trying to become more of a place for film and television to be made. We have we have a lot of resources in this community, a lot of great places. So maybe there's um, more industry around film and television, a grip house, a camera house, costuming, makeup, just all the various aspects that go along with anything professional
yeah,
theater or television related. Um, our muralists have plenty more walls to paint. I think I'd love to see more murals. I love everything that you've done with the sculpture garden. If I had, and we do have some more contemporary sculpture out on the median between North and South
right.
First. I grew up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and they've made a name for themselves with doing a sculpture walk,
Oh,
where they commission, or you have to go through a process to be selected, but you would have a piece that would be displayed all throughout their downtown. They've got various areas, and then they really work hard to try to sell those pieces throughout the course of the year. And then they switch out the sculpture next year. There's a whole new batch, and I think that's kind of a fun concept.
yeah,
our parks are a little bit more permanent, and I think that's good too. Um, what else do we need? We just need more. We need
Yeah.
more of everything. I want to see more people try,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Um, and there are resources available. I think it, you know how um, I don't know if it's the chamber or y'all did it, but like there's certain areas you can go to. I think about the bathrooms at the convention center, and there's a list of the things to do in Abilene.
Yeah. That was the convention visitors.
Right. So
Yeah.
something I would like to see something like that, but for resources for our artists, for the community. To say here are the things, and even though any one of us could say, oh well, there's dirty drawers on Monday at the Contemporary Center, or there's all these other opportunities, but maybe to make it more cohesive and I'm not sure how we are really communicating anymore overall with social media pulling our focuses. It just seems like it's becoming a little bit more difficult to get that information and good communication out to the
Yeah.
community at large,
Yeah.
and how to
Yeah.
say, did you even know that this was happening here?
Yeah.
Did you even know about CAF Festival?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know how you solve that challenge necessarily.
Yeah. And we have Sydney Levesque is our marketing
Mm-hmm.
director, and she does a wonderful job of, every month there's a e-newsletter that people can get, obviously for free, and then she does the art content for Abilene Scene.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we do, of course, Instagram and that kind of stuff. But it's a different, certainly a different
different.
world than it was
Yeah.
40 years ago.
Well, I mean,
When you,
not even that long ago,
yeah.
you'd get the paper.
Yes.
And everybody got the paper, or
Yes.
even just watch the nightly news.
Right.
And
Yes.
that's not even happening anymore.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
trying to get everybody on the same kind of page is to let them know this is we're the storybook capital of America.
Right. Right.
And here's some fun things that are happening this
Yes.
week.
Yes.
It's difficult.
Yeah, it's hard. It
Mm-hmm.
is hard. We're always, every year, someone will come into the boardroom where the registration happens and it's kind of ground zero for the festival with their family and say, and they've just seen all these families down there, like, what is going on here?
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, okay, yeah.
You're in the right place. Welcome.
Yes, we're happy to tell you what's going on here. But you're right. As hard as we work, as hard as everyone works to promote, because our art organizations here are doing a fabulous job
Absolutely.
right now. The directors are great. Everyone is working I think is pedaling as fast as they can pedal. But again, it's hard. People are pulled in so many different directions, and it's just surprising. I'm embarrassed to say I didn't know about these concerts at the Cotton Warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if we're promoting those. I wonder if those are on our calendar.
No, I think I brought you a poster back in the fall for one, just to be on the radar over there. But and here we go again. We're gonna start again.
Yes. Well, and we need to promote those in our monthly newsletter and
For sure.
however we can, because that's cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's fun. And
who books those?
well, we have in the past. We've booked them. We've reached out to mostly local artists, creators. We did 6 shows, and we had 3 different bands each time, so we had a good group. Last year. Tentatively excited about the May 9th show. I don't know that we're releasing who we're having up yet, but it'll be fun. We'll hopefully have some vendors and food trucks and BYOB and a chair, and
Wow.
it's free. It's fun.
Wow. And they've stopped after I don't know how many years doing the future fund. I guess it was a future fund up on the roof of the Grace. Taylor and them organized that. But I saw that they're I think it's just, as you well know, it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Yep.
And I think they just decided it's time to maybe not do that anymore. But, there was an audience there, I don't know if it was a built-in audience, but there was very popular and very well attended.
Good.
Maybe we can connect with them somehow.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, we're building. I guess if you're listening to this today, and you want to maybe volunteer for the Cotton Warehouse, we're going to have another meeting tomorrow noon at Green Theory. You're welcome to join Lynn,
Great.
building a coalition. Um, I'm trying to think if I have any more really great questions for you, my dear. What is something that you want to share with our audience that you think is
Well,
important?
we really, really hope that people will come once again from everywhere
Mm-hmm.
for the festival this year. And, we keep those because of the amazing support of this community. Last year, we raised about $280,000.
It's great.
And so we keep the prices very, very, very reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
If you register before May 15th, and the kids' passes are like $9, and the adult I think is 14. But that gets you into everything. You get your lanyard, you collect all the buttons,
Mm-hmm.
you get so it doesn't begin to pay for it. But again, we want everyone who is interested to be able to come.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And if that still is a barrier for some people, we would be happy to work with them.
Good.
So.
Well, as we continue to do this Travi Wavi show on Thursday mornings, and we get closer to CAF, we'll throw out some plug for you and try to get more people interested, and
We appreciate that.
and let everybody know that we're all working hard to try to make good things happen.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate it so much.
Well, yeah. Thank you so
it's
much
been a
for
lot of
being on
fun.
the show today, Lynn, and maybe we can have you back and
I'd be happy to
chat some more.
come whenever.
Good. Well,
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Travis.
so much. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe, come down Thursday mornings, grab some coffee next door at Majestic, and we love having a live audience, and it always makes it a little bit more energetic. Thank you, ladies. Until next week, we'll see you next week, everybody. Thanks again.
It was fun.
Yeah, casual.
Yes.